In canonical transformations, now we are going to discuss the condition for a transformation to be canonical. Actually, this concept is very important for solving the numerical problems based on canonical transformation. So this lecture will be very important for both the university examinations and also for the competitive examinations like your NET GRF examination or civil services examination or different state services examination. So first of all, we will see some of the basic fundamentals and then we will solve the numerical problems. As the heading says, we have to discuss the condition for transformation to be canonical. In fact, in the previous lecture, we have already discussed the basic condition for a transformation from the basis qk pk, where a small qk and a small pk denote the position and momentum coordinate in old coordinate system, to the qk pk set, where this capital qk and capital pk denote the new coordinate system, new position and momentum coordinate system. So we have already discussed that a transformation from this basis a small qk small pk to the basis capital qk capital pk is canonical when the general form of the Hamilton's canonical equation of motion gets satisfied. And in previous lecture we have discussed this thing in very detail, and you have seen that this transformation from a small q a small p to capital Q capital P will be canonical only when this general form of the Hamilton equation gets satisfied. And what is this equation? This is summation over k small pk small qk dot minus h and minus summation over k capital pk capital qk dot minus h prime equal to df by dt. In fact, here this h denotes the Hamiltonian in the old set of coordinate system, and h prime denotes the Hamiltonian in the new coordinate system. And this f is what? You have studied this f in very detail in the previous lectures, and this is actually the generating function, that is a function which generates the canonical transformation. So this equation, which is called Hamilton's general equation, this is the basic condition for a transformation to be canonical. Whenever this equation will be satisfied, then we will say that the transformation from the old set of coordinates to new set of coordinates is canonical. But apart from this basic condition for a transformation to be canonical, actually there are three more conditions for a transformation to be canonical. And what are those three conditions? You can see here. The first condition is known as an exact differential condition. The second one is called bilinear invariant condition, and the third one is invariance of Lagrange brackets. Actually, in this lecture, I would like to discuss only the first one, that is an exact differential condition. I will discuss here in detail and illustrate this condition by some important examples too. And the remaining two conditions, that is the bilinear invariant condition and invariance of Lagrange bracket, we will discuss in the forthcoming lectures. In fact, invariance of Lagrange bracket we will discuss in the chapter when we will see the concept of brackets in classical mechanics. So let us see what is an exact differential condition. In fact, as an statement, you can say that a transformation from the basis a small qk a small pk to capital Qk capital Pk is canonical when this expression, which I have mentioned here, that is summation over k pk dqk, where all coordinates are in the capital letter symbol, that is the new coordinate system, minus pk dqk, or you can say the summation over k pk dqk and minus pk dqk be an exact differential. When this will be an exact differential, then you can say that the given transformation is a canonical transformation. Actually, this condition is very useful in solving the numerical problems. Although we will learn about bilinear invariant condition, invariance of Lagrange bracket too, but most of the problems which we will solve in the forthcoming lecture, we will solve by this idea of the exact differential condition for canonical transformation. But here I would like to prove first of all this statement for the exact differential condition, that is the condition for a transformation to be canonical, and after that we will illustrate this concept by a proper example, and that example will be actually very important for your examination. So as you know, the basic condition for a transformation to be canonical is what? You have just seen, and you have discussed this condition in very detail in the previous lecture. This is actually the validity or the satisfaction of the general Hamilton's equation. And what is that equation? You know, when this equation, which I have mentioned in this equation 1, gets satisfied, then the transformation is canonical. And this equation 1 reads as summation over k pk qk dot minus h and minus summation over k pk qk dot minus h prime equal to df by dt. And you know, this is actually the basic condition for a transformation to be canonical. So starting from this basic condition, you can easily prove the exact differential condition for a transformation to be canonical. Now you know the Hamiltonian of the old set of coordinate system H and of the new set of coordinate system H prime, both are related. How they are related? You have discussed this thing in the previous lecture in detail. So now you know that the old Hamiltonian H prime is equal to H plus del f by del t. You know it, del f by del t. Now let us suppose our generating function f is not an explicit function of time. Remember, you cannot say that f is not a function of time. F is a function of time, so that this df by dt is not 0. But I am saying that f is not an explicit function of time. What does it mean? It means the time coordinate does not appear explicitly in the expression of f. Then you say that f is not an explicit function of time. So if the generating function if the generating function f does not include time explicitly, then you know, if f is not an explicit function of time, then we know from calculus that this del f by del t is equal to 0. Remember, df by dt is not 0, but del f, partial derivative of f, will be 0 with respect to t. So in this condition, you can see from this relation between the old and new Hamiltonian that the old and new Hamiltonian both will become same. So if h prime is equal to h, then what will be the form of this equation 1? You can see then this h and h prime will cancel out, and your relation will be what? Therefore, equation 1 becomes, what will be now your equation 1? You can see this will be summation over k pk qk dot minus summation over k capital pk capital qk dot, and this is equal to df by dt. In fact, as I have told you, since when f is not an explicit function of time t, then this del f by del t is 0 and h prime becomes equal to h. So this h and h prime in equation 1 will cancel out. Now let us simplify this result to some extent. You can write this expression in LHS as summation over k pk dqk by dt minus capital pk dqk by dt and this is equal to df by dt. So you can see that if we will integrate this equation, or you simply say that this dt in both sides will cancel out, so our expression will become what? This is summation over k pk dqk minus pk dqk, and this equal to df. Now you can see in this equation the RHS of this equation 2, that is df, is an exact differential. So definitely its LHS will be also an exact differential. So you can say since RHS of equation 2 is an exact differential. So in order not to but that, so in order that the given transformation be canonical, the LHS means this much, LHS of 2, that is, what is LHS? This is summation over k, you can see pk dqk minus pk dqk must be an exact differential. So the statement is now proved, you can see. So you can see whenever we have to solve a problem or we have to show that a given transformation is canonical or not, we can use this exact differential condition, and for that we have to evaluate this term, that is summation over k pk dqk minus pk dqk. And after evaluating this term, if you get that it is an exact differential, then you can say that the given transformation is canonical. So let us see one important example to illustrate this idea, and after that we will see some more examples in the forthcoming lecture. So I am just going to illustrate this exact differential condition for a transformation to be canonical by a proper example. Let us say, just I am writing in the question form of this example, of this example. So let us say, so that the transformation defined by a small q equal to root over 2 capital P sin q and a small p equal to root over 2p cos q. Or you can also say this capital P equal to 1 over 2 q square plus p square, and capital Q equal to tan inverse q over p is canonical. You can see we are given here a set of transformation equations. This is one of the set and this is another set, but both are same. When you will simply square this small q and small p and add, then you will get actually the second set of transformation equation. In fact, in first set, the old coordinates small q small p have been expressed in terms of the new coordinates capital Q capital P, and in the second set actually the new coordinates small capital P and capital Q have been expressed in terms of the old coordinates small q and small. So this question may be asked by putting the transformation equation either in this first form or in this second form, but solution will be same. Solution will not change. So both sets actually refer the same transformation. Now let us try to show that this transformation is canonical by using the condition of exact differential. So if you want to show that this given transformation is canonical, then you have to show that the expression p dq minus p dq must be an exact differential. Since here there is only one coordinate, so there is no need to write the sign of summation. So you can say the given transformation will be canonical. When this will be canonical? If p dq minus p dq equal to an exact differential. When this condition will be satisfied, you can say that the given transformation is canonical. So now let us try to evaluate this term p dq minus p dq. So now you can see a small p dq minus capital P dq. What will be this? You can write this as P dq minus. Now see, this capital P in terms of a small q and a small p is this much. So write this expression for the capital P. This will be half q square plus p square, and times dq. dq means capital Q. And you can see it is given in this problem that this capital Q is equal to tan inverse Q by P. And so we have to write the differential of this tan inverse Q by P. So what will be its differential? This will be actually equal to P dq minus Q dp and divided by P square plus Q square. This is differential of tan inverse Q by P. You can check it. Now this Q square plus P square you can see will cancel out, and your result is what? This is P dq minus half P dq minus Q dp. And you can see this P dq minus half P dq, this will be in fact half P dq. And this minus and this minus here will become plus, so this is half Q dp, and you can write this as half P dq plus Q dp. But what is this? P dq plus Q dp, this is just differential of the product of P and Q. So this is half differential of PQ. And since half is a constant factor, so you may also write it like this. This is half PQ. So differential of half, it means this is an exact differential. So you can see that when we have evaluated this factor P dq minus P dq, then our result is what? Our result is that this is an exact differential. But you have just seen in the theory part that if this expression is an exact differential, then the given transformation is canonical. So this implies that the given transformation is canonical. So you can see how easily we can solve the problem if you have an idea of this exact differential condition. In fact, as I have told you earlier, in the forthcoming lecture we will illustrate this concept by some more important examples, and when you will see the previous year question of different competitive examinations, you will find such problems are invariably asked in the standard examinations of India.